In this week's edition of Stop, Look, and Listen, we have the pleasure of welcoming President of Morris Brown College, Dr. Kevin James. We have an in-depth discussion on the economic problems plaguing HBCUs, mentoring HBCUs versus PWIs, and making education an equal playing field for all.
Well, we can just jump into it. I kind of want to start off a little bit biographical, especially since you brethren from the Winthrop, as we like to call it. So tell us about where you came from in South Carolina and how you arrived at Winthrop.
Sure. Well, I am originally from Columbia, South Carolina. I grew up the oldest of 5 children. And when I graduated from high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I grew up with a family of educators. My mother was a teacher, then a school principal, then a school superintendent. My dad was a teacher. They're both retired now. My entire family were all educators. And so when I graduated from high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I've been a musician since I was 5 years old. And so the only thing that I knew was I wanted to go and march at South Carolina State University in their marching band, the Marching 101 Band. Mm-hmm. And so that is what I did. I didn't know what I wanted to major in. And so I just said, well, I'll major in music. And so I received a scholarship to be on the band at South Carolina State. I marched in the band. And then probably around the end of my sophomore year, junior year, when I got into my theory classes in music, I decided that it wasn't for me. I did not want to be a music educator. And so I tried to hold on, and I changed my major from music ed to speech pathology. And so I stayed for maybe like another year. And then I heard about a program that was very, very phenomenal at Winthrop University. And so my senior year, I transferred from South Carolina State University after 4 years to Winthrop University. And I finished my degree there in communication disorders and social sciences. And so the goal at that time was for me to go to graduate school at Howard University to study audiology. And when I graduated from college, I'll never forget this. It was the summer before I graduated, and my uncle at our family reunion asked me, he lives in Albany, Georgia. He asked me what I had planned on doing when I graduated. And I said, I'm thinking about going to Howard, but I'm not really sure. And so he said, well, if you want to get a good place to start, I got an extra bedroom here in Albany, Georgia. And so I said, okay, well, Uncle, I'm gonna hold you to that. And so nevertheless, to make a long story short, I decided to take a gap year off from going straight to grad school. And I moved to Albany, Georgia. And when I moved to Albany, Georgia, the first job that I was able to get was teaching, when I was exactly what I did not want to do. And so it was there that I fell in love with adult students. And I guess God set me on a pathway to work in higher education, and the rest is history. So, my time at Winthrop, it was interesting because I tell people this all the time. I went to an HBCU for 4 years and then transferred to Winthrop, which is a PWI, went there for a year and a half and then graduated. So I have both experiences, both an HBCU experience as well as a PWI experience.
Well, tell us about the differences between attending an HBCU and a PWI.
Well, so the culture is completely different. At South Carolina State, I really enjoyed being in the marching band. I, pledged the band fraternity. I had a very, very diverse group of faculty. It was family, and I really enjoyed my time at Winthrop, but my experience at the HBCU was a lot different from those few examples that I just gave. For example, another example is right now, I could tell you probably 2 or 3 faculty members that I had at South Carolina State, but I probably could not tell you, I cannot remember any faculty members that I had at Winthrop outside of my department chairs, but it was extremely different experience. Now, I did pledge Omega Psi Phi at Winthrop, so I still had the quote unquote African culture, the African American culture with my fraternity, where I was around, folks who looked like me all the time. So it really didn't feel as much after class like a PWI, but nevertheless, it definitely is a difference there. And my goal, having experienced both, was to be a leader at a HBCU. And, I've been working my way up for the last 21 years. And here I am at Morris Brown College.
Do you think that some students coming out of high school, for lack of a better word, more designed to go to a PWI as opposed to an HBCU? Or do you think that some students should go to an HBCU or PWI? Because I know from my experience, I grew up in the blackest county in the state of South Carolina, and I felt like I needed to go to a PWI because I hadn't been around a lot of white people throughout, my childhood. Do you think that one is better than the other one in that instance, as opposed to people just deciding to go to the school that they think is just a good fit for them?
So I'm gonna give a high level answer, and then I'm gonna give my opinion. The high level answer is go where you feel that you will be educated the best, right? If I want to major in something in the HBCU in my area, or there's not a program that I'm interested in, then I'm going to go to the school that white school, that PWI. That's the high level answer. Go to where you want to go, right? But at the same time, there is data and in specific benefits for an African American to attend an HBCU: the cultural experience, the family experience, being around people that look like you, being around a faculty that looks like you, being around individuals who help to push you and have a vested interest in your success, being at a place that, statistically speaking, you're more likely to become a doctor, a lawyer, a pharmacist, a chemist, a teacher, a pastor, what have you, almost any field of endeavor. But with little resources, the data proves overwhelmingly that HBCUs are the best bang for your buck for African Americans. And so I'm always going to push HBCUs. At the end of the day, go to where you want to go and feel like you can best be educated. But I'm always going to be an advocate for my HBCUs.
Do you think that with you going to grad school at a PWI and going to undergrad and at an HBCU, how do you feel about people doing it the opposite way of going PWI for undergrad and then going to HBCU for grad school?
I think it's fine. Go to where you feel that you can get what you need, right? I mean, African Americans, statistically speaking, when you look at the number of us that go to college, right? Go to college. Go and get that credential and that education that you're going to need to be able to compete. Go to college. I would love for you to go to a HBCU. If you decide not to go to a HBCU, go and get that as well. I mean, go and get the degree, period. I personally, again, have the experience of both. I went to South Carolina State. I went to Winthrop. I went to Albany State. I went to Troy State. Then I went to Nova Southeastern. I've also even been at Harvard. So I have experience of being at all types of institutions. But at the end of the day, go where you feel that you can get the credential that you need to be able to compete, to be able to go out into the world and make your difference.
Okay, so you was named president of Morris Brown College. With Morris Brown and other HBCUs, they seem to have issues with endowments and raising money. Is that one of the main issues you've had to face, or what other issues do you see plaguing HBCUs?
When people ask me that question, I give this is the answer that I give. HBCUs never, okay, let me make sure I clean this up. HBCUs 9 times out of 10 do not get in trouble with accrediting agencies regarding their academics. We do the best of educating us. Mm-hmm. it is always finances.
Mhm.
You know, we have small endowments. We have a small number of individuals that give back to their institutions. We have, you know, smaller enrollment, right? We may not have as much state funding, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so we have to do more with less. And so it's the finances that when you see an HBCU that has some kind of accreditation issue, 9 times out of 10, it is something dealing with the finances. Here at Morris Brown, we lost our accreditation in 2002, and it was for financial mismanagement of our finances. In full transparency, anyone can look that up. And so today, we are trying to raise the dollars needed to show our new accrediting agency, the Transnational Association of Christian Colleges and Schools, that we are financially stable, that we have the dollars needed to effectively and efficiently operate this institution. And so we're working, doing the best that we can to raise as much money as we can so we can show the agency that we're financially stable, especially for times like these. You know, the accrediting agency is also going to be looking at your endowments and how much monies you have in the bank, because at the end of the day, they want to see what can you continue to operate during an emergency. It's so many colleges right now during this coronavirus that are in danger of closing because they did not have the appropriate dollars saved in endowments for emergencies like this. And so the CARES Act has helped with a lot of HBCUs. It's helped. Our endowments to continue to raise dollars for these institutions to be fiscally stable.
So could you tell us about the accreditation process? Like what steps are taking during that and the evaluation process?
Sure. So accreditation basically is a peer-reviewed process where a group of your peers from that agency allow you to complete an application, do a self-evaluation or a self-study, and then they come in and evaluate what you said that you are, right? So we've completed our application. We're going to submit our application as soon as we finish this last audit, right? The self-study literally was a dissertation that we wrote on ourselves about who we are as an institution. Everything A to Z regarding our finances, our academic programs, our students, our faculty, our staff, our facilities, our learning outcomes, everything, our mission, our goals, our strategic plan, our financial plan, our assessment plan, everything A to Z regarding who we are as an institution as required in the application. Submit the application, submit the self-study, and then a group of our peers will come here to Morris Brown and evaluate what we said that we are. Once that is completed, of course, they're going to find things that are wrong, or they're going to give us recommendations to improve. We respond to that, and then hopefully our goal is to appear before the accrediting agency in October of this year for us to become a candidate for accreditation. Once that happens, we would then be eligible to apply for federal financial aid. It's critically important that federal financial aid is obtained because institutions, especially HBCUs, just like any higher education institution, cannot operate without student loans, right? Morris Brown College back in 2002, we literally went from 2,700 students to 50 students overnight. Because once that student lost access to federal financial aid, they could no longer continue. And so they would just transferred out. And you know, the institution has been working ever since then to grow our enrollment, but it's been somewhere between 30 and 50 students every year since that time.
Why do you think it is that some of these HBCU institutions have struggles with their financial standing and handling the finances properly, since they're so good at educating people that look like you and I?
Yeah, well, the number one thing is the alumni are not giving back. I believe the last article that I read with some statistics in it said that only 13% of our alumni give back to their institution, right? And the alumni are the number one promoters of said institution. So if they're not giving, why should anyone else? And so what we have to do as higher education institutions, especially HBCUs, is to create that narrative and the why it is critically important to give back to your HBCU or to give to an HBCU. The same way that we give to our churches. You don't go to church and not take an offering, right? And so we need to have the same mentality. When you come back for homecoming, you leave funding for this institution. When we have Founders Day, when we have convocation, when we have commencement, or just on a monthly basis, send something back to your HBCU. If more individuals gave back to their HBCUs, we wouldn't need these, well, it'd be great to have these large corporations, but we would have funding that we need to be able to operate, to at least operate. And then everything else would be extra, right? So we are counting on getting the message out to our alumni, shareholders, individuals who believe in the education of HBCUs to give liberally to HBCUs so we can operate effectively and efficiently.
I remember growing up watching Lou Rawls with his telethon, Parade of Stars.
Yep.
So what can we do as a community to ensure a healthy long-term stability for our HBCUs?
Well, like I just mentioned, as a community, tell the story. You know, one thing that we want to do here at Morris Brown is we want to do more of telling the statistical story of what our students are doing with their education from Morris Brown and how that impacts our city, how that impacts our region, how that impacts our state, and how it impacts the country, right? We have to show the why, the value of what a historically Black college education is doing for our economy and doing for our city, right? And our community. And so we need to do a better job of that. And I'm committed to doing that here at Morris Brown. We're pulling the data. We want to really tell a compelling story of, look, when you give and pour into our college, this is the return on your investment. Donors want to see a return. What do I get out of this, right? And when you speak about corporations such as here in Atlanta, you have Coca-Cola, you have Home Depot, you have Wells Fargo, some of these major companies. We want our students and our graduates to become employees at these companies. And so the company can see the return on their investment, and it's really just a win-win for everybody. And so we just need to do a better job of telling the story regarding that ROI and how it affects the community.
Some years ago, I was friends with a lady that graduated from Johnson C. Smith University in 1957, and she asked me to take her to a homecoming event, and they had a banquet that night, and they raised a bunch of money, and these classes were tearfully giving money back to Johnson C. Smith. I'm sure that you see the same type of stuff happening at your institution as well. Could you talk a little bit about that type of family connection that's created at an HBCU? Because that's something that I've never seen people tearfully giving money back to Winthrop University.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I have the experience of attending an HBCU as well as a PWI. And I can say that PWI institutions, of course, their endowments are huge. They receive very large gifts. At HBCUs, we want to make sure that giving to an HBCU is a part of what you just normally do. Again, I use the example and the analogy of giving to your church. It doesn't always have to be that $50,000 gift, that $20,000 gift. But if you gave $50 a month, right? If everyone did that, if they gave $20 a month, it would tremendously impact how we're operating at our HBCUs. Those individuals at Johnson C. Smith, they come together as classmates, they come together as corporations, they come together as fraternity line brothers and sorority sisters and everything, and they give to their HBCUs out of love of what that institution did for them, out of the love of the culture and wanting to see that HBCU continue to thrive. Here at Morris Brown College, our Founders Day is our largest giving day of the year. And just coincidentally, we had to cancel our Founders Day this year because of coronavirus. That negatively impacted us greatly. But nevertheless, we're going to make up for it at homecoming, right? And so, we want to make sure that we continue to push the narrative of family, culture, and just the whole component of why it's so critically important to give back to these HBCUs. Again, it doesn't have to be, those super large gifts like some of the corporations, but if you just do something consistently, we will win.
This is
one more thing.
Oh, okay.
One more thing I want to, because you didn't mention this yourself, and I want to just give you kudos for this. I know that when you took over there was some debt obligations that the university had that you took care of, and it's kind of got you guys on the path to success. Can you talk a little bit about how important it is, not just from an institutional level, but from a personal standpoint of people that you may know, about how important it is to clear up debt in order to get yourself into financial solvency?
Absolutely. Well, so coming into Morris Brown College, our situation is one of the most unique situations in this country. In 2002, when we lost our accreditation, we should have closed, period, end of story. Most HBCUs, that when you lose your accreditation, that's a death sentence. You close because you don't have access to the financial aid. Well, people ask me all the time, how in the world is Morris Brown College still open after 18 years of not being accredited? And my answer is threefold. One, God. Two, the AME Church. And three, the alumni, right? And so the AME Church has been instrumental with helping Morris Brown College remain open. In 2012, when we filed bankruptcy, the AME Church stepped in and helped us out a great deal, right? And so just quite frankly, you can read this in publications, we were in debt with interest, $4.2 million. And so when I came into this position, I knew that it was going to be virtually impossible for us to earn our accreditation with that debt on our books. And so over the past year, myself, the chairman of our board, and others had been working with the AME Church to get them to think about forgiving the debt, because without becoming accredited, we're going to close. And so that debt is not going to help at all. And so after a lot of negotiation, they agreed, the AME Church, and I'm so thankful, to forgive that $4.2 million debt in exchange for $1.5 million in student scholarships for AME Church members. And so that was a win-win, because we're going to grow our enrollment with AME Church members. We are in the AME school. And at the same time, we were able to get the debt removed, and that put us 50 steps closer to becoming accredited. So it's critically important for the books to be clean and for you to do as much as you can to make sure that your finances and your books are in order.
This is Stop, Look, and Listen. We're being joined by Dr. Kevin James, president of Morris Brown College. So you mentioned a little earlier about some casualties as a result of the coronavirus. Could you kind of take us behind the scenes, like during the month of March, and basically having a transition from operating under normal university policy to switch into remote learning?
Yes. So right as the coronavirus was getting serious, the AUC presidents, the Atlanta University Consortium, came together. The presidents came together, and we had a task force as well to discuss how were we going to respond to the whole situation with the coronavirus. And so we made a collective decision based on data and everything to send our kids home. We made a collective decision to do that. So all 6 schools sent our kids home, and we are now working virtually. So it was a little bit easier for Morris Brown College being that we only have 35 students. You know, when you look at Clark Atlanta with 7,000 students, or when you look at Morehouse with, 2,100 students, it was much more difficult for them. So we had a little bit easier seamless transition regarding pushing all of our students online, because some of our students were already online. And so to do that, it wasn't as difficult as maybe some of my colleagues and other constituents. So we are now working remotely. Our students finished the semester out online. Just 3 days ago at my faculty board, at my board of trustee meeting, I announced to the board that I made a determination that we are not going to bring our students back this fall. We are going to continue online until at least until January 2021. Students are my top priority, and I want to make sure that we are in a safe environment. And so we're going to ask them to stay home, and we're going to finish out the calendar year online.
What are some of the difficulties that you guys are facing, considering the politics of the situation, in particular in the state of Georgia, where everything around you is opening back up, but meanwhile you're going to continue to try to operate online? Are you under any kind of pressure from the state of Georgia or some of the other institutions surrounding you about trying to bring the students back to campus this fall, as opposed to waiting until the spring semester?
Oh, absolutely not. We are a self-sustaining organization, and no one can come in and tell us how to operate, as long as we're not breaking any laws. And so Morris Brown College, we made the determination that the state can open up, the city can open up, but that doesn't mean that we have to bring our students back. It's a lot of, I'm gonna use an example, it's a lot of churches that no matter what the governor said or the city officials have said, they've made a determination like we have that they're not going to open their churches back up, as an example. And so we're not receiving any calls or any pressure regarding bringing our students back. That is our prerogative and determination of how we want to handle that.
So I see you have 100 Black Men of America shirt on. I know that you was previously the CEO. Could you give us a little background information about that, and how the program has built a strong foundation of leadership amongst those that participated?
Sure. Well, the 100 Black Men of America was founded in 1963 in New York City. The organization, just quite frankly, the purpose of our organization is mentorship and supporting the Black community. Primarily what we do is you have professional Black men that pour into the lives of the youth, both boys and girls. And so the 100 Black Men of Atlanta, the chapter that I am involved in, we have a school, Best Academy, where we mentor kids at Best Academy, and we mentor them all throughout high school. We have sessions with them, we have professional development with them, we take them under our wing, and we mentor them. Not only do we mentor them, but we help them to get through high school. And then my chapter, the 100 Black Men of Atlanta, we pay for them to go to college. So we give them $6,000 a year, $24,000 in tuition assistance to go to college. And, the purpose of our organization at the end of the day aligns with our motto: what they see is what they'll be. So if they see thugs, statistically speaking, they might be thugs. If they see professional Black men in suits and ties and pouring into them and showing them how to be a man, statistically speaking, they're more apt to be that, right? And so I was fortunate enough and honored to be the interim CEO of the 100 Black Men of America, where I oversaw 101 chapters throughout the country. And all of these different chapters poured into their local communities with different issues, such as, things affecting the Black community in a positive way, as well as mentorship. And so it was a huge honor to serve in that capacity. I'm still very involved in my local chapter, the 100 Black Men of Atlanta. Just finished my second term, 4 years on the board of directors. And so, former chair of mentoring, former member of the year, mentor of the year. And so it just means so much to me what the organization stands for and how we positively pour into the Black community.
What kind of advice would you offer to, in particular, young Black males who are in high school right now and are facing all of the ills of society that young Black males have to face? And what kind of advice would you give them in order to overcome some of that so they can be on the path to greatness?
The number one thing that I would say is find a mentor. Find a mentor who you respect and that you look up to. And I actually like when it's someone new, right? If it's not someone that you've known forever, if you have a new mentor, someone who's in a position or in a field of endeavor that you want to be in or that you respect, I highly encourage young people to get a mentor. I wanted to be a college president 21 years ago. Well, I've had a college president mentor since that time who I can bounce ideas off of, questions, talk to them about my master's degree program, talk to him about my doctoral program, talk to him about situations that happened on previous jobs, right? And that 20-year mentorship, and he's still my mentor today, helped me to get to where I am right now. And so I want to always encourage young people to find a mentor, someone you respect, someone you trust, and to build that relationship with them and ask as many questions as you can and shadow them and learn as much as you can.
Well, Dr. Kevin James, it has been a pleasure. As someone that crossed paths with on Winthrop's campus. We're proud of your accomplishments.
Thank you, man.
The leadership that you're displaying, we're sure Morris Brown is in good hands. Mm-hmm. And if you ever need us for anything as far as getting the word out, feel free to give us a ring.
Wonderful.
It's definitely beautiful seeing brothers like yourself being able to pour back into our community. I think that it's an inspiration for even your peers, people who are around the same age as you are. It's inspiring me right now to see what you have done. Reading about you, the things that you have been able to do with Morris Brown is a beautiful thing. And I just want to make sure that everybody commends you on the work that you're doing there, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate it so much. And just one last thing, please continue to support Morris Brown by, first of all, telling the story. Hey, have you heard about Morris Brown? Have you heard that they're about to be the first Black college to ever come back 20 years after losing its accreditation, right? Tell the story about what we're doing here. And then number two, please consider pouring into Morris Brown College financially by going to our website, morrisbrown.edu. Click on that give button and give anything that you can.
So I do have one quick question kind of related to that. So like United Negro College Fund and Thurgood Marshall College Fund, how do you feel about individuals making contributions to Morris Brown through them? So
you have to be a member to receive funding from those institutions. So if you wanted to give to Morris Brown, we're not a member of either one of those organizations. So give directly to Morris Brown. Okay. Now, my goal is that one day, as a private institution, that one day we will be a part of the United Negro College Fund again. That is our goal, but you have to be accredited. So once we earn our accreditation, we're going to do the best that we can to become a member of UNCF again. But as of right now, if you're interested in giving to Morris Brown, go to our website, morrisbrown.edu, or you can cash app us $Restore Morris Brown.
Beautiful stuff, man. We appreciate you taking the time with us tonight, man.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you for having me on your show.
No problem.
Thank you for checking us out on YouTube, and be sure to subscribe for more great content. And don't forget to check out our website at gobradionetwork.com.